ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवान् च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथन्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश। Hare Krishna. So today we'll start discussing from Mukundamalastora, text number 34. In the previous verse, as Lord has explained, Maharaj Kulashekhar has explained that if we not remember their Lordship right now, then at the time of death, it's really difficult. Kantha varodanam vidau smaranam kutaste. To remember their Lordship is not that easy. Because whatever we do regularly, constantly, that has a long-lasting impact on our consciousness. And that prepares our future consciousness. So if you are not engaged right now in remembering their Lordship, then it's very hard to remember their Lordship at the time of death. And that's why in the text number 34, Maharaj Kulashekhar, he requests his mind and he says, Chetaschintaya kirtayasva rasane namribhavatvam shiro hastavanjali samputam rachayantam vandasvadirgham vapuhu atman sanshraya pundarika nayanam nagachalindra Dhanyam punyatamam tadeva paramam daivam hi sansiddhaye. Here again, as previously he has instructed his mind in text number 20. So here he says, O mind, think of the lotus-eyed Lord who reclines on the mountain like a serpent, Ananta. He is speaking about Mahavishnu. He is addressing here the mind that one should always think about the Lord. In this particular form. Then he says, O tongue, glorify him. Use your speaking ability to glorify the wonderful pastimes of the Lordship. O head, bow down to him. Generally, the people who are so puffed up, full of a pride, ego, their so-called achievements in this material world, they think themselves as so great, and they don't want to bow down in front of anyone. You bow down in front of someone whom you really know that that person is a supreme. That person is superior than anything. Then naturally you can bow down in front of that person. But the people in this world, majority of so-called educated people, they don't bow down to their parents even. Forget about any other people in the society. So it's very hard, because today's education system is designed in such a way, rather than it makes you humble, it makes you puffed up. Because it is all competitive. Since beginning of education, You always want your child should be the first. So what you are actually giving him? Your child should be the first. That should be the desire. But you should train him that how he should be first. What sort of a healthy competition that he should have. And unless and until you know that there is someone who is really superior, it's not possible to accept our real position as subservient who is totally dependent on someone. And unless and until we understand that, it really becomes difficult to really bow down in front of the Lordship. Then he says, "O hands, join your palms in supplication to him. O body, offer outstretched obeisances to him. O heart, take full shelter of him. That Supreme Lord is the topmost deity. It is he alone who is all auspicious and supremely purifying. He alone who awards eternal perfection." So here he's explaining why one has to surrender the Lordship. Because he is supremely purified. He is topmost. For each and everything, nowadays, people, they need evidence. They don't have faith in anyone. And that's why all relations are collapsing. Because trust and faith, these wonderful abilities or qualities, we are missing it now. Because everyone is in a rat race. So, in such a situation, whether you don't trust anyone, but you really want to see some documentation where it is mentioned. Who says that? So who says that? Not you, not me, not some Tom, Dick, Harry, but it's Vedas. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 7th chapter, text number 30, where personified Vedas, when they pray to their Lordship, and there they say, "Aparimita dhruvastanubhruto yadi sarvagatas trahina shasyati niyamo dhruvanetra tatha ajanichayan mayantad avimucha niyantra bhavet samam anujanatam yadamatam mat dushtataya." There the personification Vedas, they came and they offered prayer to the Lord. And they says, see, Vedas is the body of knowledge. As per our Sanatan Dharma or Vedic Dharma, for each and everything what we do, what we speak about, we have evidence for that, and that is, the evidence is Vedas. So here Vedas in personified form, they are making a statement that Lord is the Supreme. Who is that Lord? Lord Krishna. So they says, "O Supreme Eternal, if the embedded living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But if the living entities are accepted as a minute energies of your Lordship, then they are at once subject to your supreme control. Therefore, real liberation entails surrendered by the living entities to your control. And that surrender will make them happy. In that constitutional position, only can they be controllers. Therefore, men with a limited knowledge who advocate the monastic theory that God and the living entities are equal in all respects are actually misleading themselves and others. So here Vedas, they are speaking about the monastic philosophy, because even today this monastic philosophy is very prominent in different ways. People, they call themselves as a god. But as Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter, that Mama Ansho Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha. All these living entities, they are the parts and parcels of the Lord. And because they are a part and parcel of the Lord, so they are qualitatively equal with the Lord. As Lord is Sat Chit Ananda, He is eternal, He is full of a bliss, and He is full of a knowledge. So same way, we are also full of a bliss. But we are not experiencing that. And that's why in this material world, we are trying different ways, methods to get happiness in this world. There are different spiritual practices that we perform. But do you think that all those practices will give you a really happiness? Maybe for some time, but not permanently. If you really wanted to get that permanent happiness, then that has explained by the Vedas himself in this particular statement. First of all, we should understand our own position. Definitely, we are God, but we are minute gods. We are minute controllers. Being the part and parcel of the Lord, we are having that quality of controlling. But how much we can control, that has its own limits. And that's why they say here that if the embodied living entities were eternal and all pervading like you, then they would not be under your control. But that's not the fact. Because we are the part and parcels of the Lord. That's why we are the minute energy of the Supreme Lordship. And if we consider and accept that, then we are subjected to His supreme control. And that's why they say that real liberation entails surrender by the living entities to your control. And that surrender will make them happy. So what can make us happy? If we surrender ourselves at the feet of their Lordship. And that's what you can see. All these prayers, all these great devotees, they are asking for the same thing. Oh my Lord, please let me surrender at your lotus feet. Let me take shelter at your lotus feet. But there are some foolish people, as Lord says, Mudho ayam navijanati. There are fools, and Prabhupada translates them as fools and rascals. They don't understand the Lord. Because somehow or other they get convinced, or somehow or other they get confused by the monistic theory of considering ourselves as a god. But they are misleaded and they are misleading to others. So what is most purifying in this world is nothing than the worship of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Because that clears all the dirt from our heart. Nothing else that can clear our heart. And to worship someone or something greater than ourselves is natural. And that's what we do actually. Even in the office, when your boss comes, you immediately get up from your chair. Why? Because you respect him. Because you accept his superiority. Then why not to accept the superiority of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead? And that's why in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna makes it clear that he alone is the only proper object of worship. And even Lord Shiva, he explains it to Mother Parvati in Padma Purana that Aradhanam hi sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam param. If you want to really worship, then worship Lord Vishnu, because his worship is topmost among the all worships. And in this verse, King Kulashekhar reiterates this point by stating that the lotus-eyed Supreme Lord is the topmost deity. He is the topmost object of our worship. For universal management, Lord Krishna expands into many Vishnu forms and empowers millions of demigods. And thus there are innumerable deities or Ishwaras, controllers. Like Indra, he is considered as a lord of rains. Because of him, there is a rain shower. He controls that. But who has given that control to him? That is given by the Lord. Vayu, the wind lord, he controls all the wind in the universe. He is also a controller. But who has given that capacity to him? That Lord Krishna. Mad bhayat vahati vayu. That's what Lord says in Srimad Bhagavatam. Because of his fear, the wind blows. Mad bhayat varshati indro. It's because of my fear that Indra, he showers the rain. So the Supreme Personality of a Godhead is the topmost controller of all. And who says that? The second creator of this material universe, Lord Brahma. Whenever there are problems, whenever there are calamities, all demigods, they run to Lord Brahma for the help. And that same Brahma, in the first verse of Brahma Samhita, he says, Ishvaraha Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govindaha Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvaraha, amongst the controllers, Paramaha, the topmost, is Krishna. This Lord Krishna is the topmost controller. Ishvaraha Parama Krishna. And who is he? Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. He is not some impersonal light or some energy. That's what the people they think about. But he is having an eternal, full of knowledge and blissful form. Anadir Adir Govinda. Nobody is his source, because everything emanates from something. But he never emanates from anything. He is eternal. So there is no emanation or destruction for him. And he is the Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all causes. And if you understand this particular thing, then what happens? Then automatically, Chetaschintaya Kirtaya Swarasane Namri Bhavatvam Shiro. Then automatically you will think about that Supreme Person. You will glorify his wonderful activities. You will become Namra, humble in front of him. And if you are humble, automatically your head will bow down in front of him. With Hastava Anjali Samputam. With a folded hand, you will bow down in front of him. And not only bow down, further he says that Rachayatam Vandanas Dirgha Vapu. You will offer outstretched Sashtanga Pranam to their Lordship. Because he is the one who can give you shelter to your heart. Atman Samshmaya Pundarika Nayanam. Samshmaya means taking shelter. Atmanam means heart. With heart you should take shelter of him. And who is that? Naga Chalendra Sthitam. He is the one who is transcendentally lying upon the bed of Ananta Shesha. And he says, Dhanyam Punyatamam Tad Eva Paramam Daivam Hi Sat Siddhaye. And that is the real perfection of your life. By engaging all your senses in the service of this supremely purifying deity. their lordship. As here he has explained these different senses, how to engage them in the service of the Lord. In the next verse, he says, the condition of a devotee, or not devotee, condition of a jiva, who is here in this world, but who never hears about the glory of their lordship. He never gives audience to the narrations of wonderful pastimes of the Lord. For that person, Maharaj Kulashekhar says, Shranman Janardana Katha Guna Kirtanani Dehe Nayasya Pulako Damarao Marajihe No Tat Padatye Nayano Avilambu Mala Dhiktasya Jivitam Aho Purushadhamasya. Dhik means, he said, it's a useless, for whom, to those person, their life is useless, who had never heard about the wonderful narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's wonderful pastimes. He says here, one who hears description of Lord Janardana's pastimes and glorious qualities, but whose bodily hair fails to bristle in ecstasy, and whose eyes fail to flood with the tears of pure love. Such a person is indeed the most degraded rascal. What a condemned life he leads. Thick, he condemned that person. You must be wondering that translation speaks about the person who is hearing, and what I have narrated before starting this verse, that person who is not hearing or listening or not giving audience to the narrations. See, there are different categories of hearing. In the Skanda Purana, in Bhagavad Mahatmya, it has explained there are 3 varieties of listeners who are considered as a Uttama, and there are 3 varieties of listeners who are considered as the Adhama. So Uttamas are those who are like the swan, Hansa. Means, who are those? Hansa means, if you add a milk into the water, mix it, and if you get to Hansa, then what happens? Hansa only drinks the milk, not the water. He lives that water. So same way, the topmost hearer of Krishna Katha is that who is a Saragrahi, who only take the sense from that narrations, who only hears about the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. They are like the second one is like a Meena. Meena means like a fish. If you see fish in the water, he never blinks his eyes. So same way, if some listener, he sit in front of the speaker who is narrating the wonderful pastimes of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, and he pays his full attention, eye-to-eye contact, never looks here and there, with a rapt attention, he is also considered as a Uttama listener. And there is a Shuka, like a parrot like a hearer. He is also considered as a Uttama. Why? Because the person who hears properly, he can reproduce it, he can re-narrate that things properly. And Shuka, parrot, is very excellent in that. If you train him to listen carefully and narrate it, he does that wonderfully. And that's why Shuka is considered as a most wonderful bird. So hearing the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead means hearing with a rapt attention, with a full concentration, and being there itself. Sometimes we sit to hear about the Lord, but our mind takes the world tour. It goes back and forth, and we don't able to concentrate, and we are not hearing. We may be there, but we are not there with our mind. And if we are not there with our mind, then the lakshanas, the symptoms that he has explained, and he is expecting from the person who is hearing the Lord's wonderful pastime, that will not come. As he says that Shunvan Janardana Kathanu Kirtanani. If someone hears about the wonderful narrations of Lord Janardana, Janardana means who maintains everyone. So if someone hears about the Lord, then what should happen to him if he is really hearing? He says, Pulakodgama Roma Rajihi. His hair should stand on, his body. But that never happens with us, because we are not amongst these three listeners. We are from the Adamas actually. I don't know about your case, but in my case, we are like a ox. Ox, do you understand? Ox. Because if you feed ox oil cakes, or you feed him a green grass, he eats both things with the same taste, So we are like that. At least I am. We don't have that much interest in hearing about the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. We hear same way the narrations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the way we pay attention to movies and some chit chat and some gossip. We don't find any difference in that. So we will not get such a wonderful symptoms where our heart is not there. Sometimes we are like a camel. Camel has that tendency, if you give him a green grass, he will not eat that. But he will go and try to munch the horny bushes and try to eat them. But what happens in that, while he was munching that horny bushes, his tongue get hurt and it start bleeding. And that same taste, he thinks that it's really tasty, and he try to enjoy that. So some people are like that, If you narrate a Krishna Katha, or if you narrate Mahabharata in front of them, they will like the style of Shakuni, So they get attracted to that rather than the qualities of Yudhishthir, because they find sweetness in that ill characters than the good characters. So such a kind of a listener is there, then he is not going to get this wonderful qualities. Nayane Vimalambumala means constantly tears are falling from the eyes. Unless and until you have that intense love for the Supreme Personality of a Godhead in your heart, that will not happen. And if that is not going to happen, then Maharaj Kulashekhar says that your life is useless, thick. And such a symptoms will not come immediately. To get such a symptom, you need to follow the procedure. And there is a procedure. And that procedure has explained in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu very nicely. And that process is called as a bhakti. And bhakti is also divided into three different stages. First is sambandha, second is abhideya, and third is prayojana. So what happens in the first stage? One hears from authorized sources and awakens to understanding of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead, oneself, the creation, and the relationship among all this. So that establishes our sambandha, our relationship with the Lord. So that's why it's very important from whom you hear about the Lord. You should hear it from the authorized person, then you are going to get the proper knowledge. But nowadays what happens? People, they think themselves extra intelligent, and they think that I can hear from anyone and I will just take good from him. Do we really know what is good for me? If we really know what is good for me, then why we have to hear from someone else? So they go here and there, this Baba, that Swamiji, that philosopher. That will not work. So if you want to be an engineer, you need to go to the engineering college, or the institute which can teach you about the engineering syllabus. If you go to some management college and you want to learn about engineering, you are not going to get it. That's why in this age of Akali, there are 4 authorized sampradayas or 4 authorized institutes from whom you can know about a Vishnu Tattva, from whom you can know about the Vaishnavism. And those are like Sri Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Kumar Sampradaya, which starts from the real authorities in this universe. The Sri Sampradaya starts from Mother Lakshmi. She is the mother, you know. If you want to know about the father, who is the most authorized person? Mother. Second one is Brahma. If you want to know about the father, only a son can tell you how his father, he can give you knowledge about him. And that Brahma is the first child of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. Then who else? Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is considered as none other than Lord himself. Kshir and Dadhi. It's like a milk and yogurt. Both are like that. Yogurt is not different from the milk. It's a part of milk. It's the real source is milk. In the same way, Krishna and Shiva is there. And Kumaras. See, these are the most eligible person who can give you knowledge about the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. So if you hear from these 4 personalities and the Sampradaya or the institute which has started from them, then it's possible to know about what, who is God, who are we, what is this material nature, why we are here, and what is our relationship with him considering all these 4 factors. So that establishes a sambandha. If there is no sambandha, there is no relation, so how you are going to get the further knowledge? It's not possible. So that's why the first stage, that you should get connected with a proper institute which has a proper disciplic succession, where knowledge has came in descending order. One has given to the other. So same way that knowledge should come. And that knowledge will transfer your heart. And then what happens? The second stage. Then one realizes the supreme value of a bhakti yoga. That is devotional service to the all-attractive Lord. And in the second stage called Abhideya, one engages in the practical activities of devotional service. So one gets engaged. So Abhideya means engaging ourselves in that practices which can take us to the final stage, which is known as a Prayojana, in which one achieves pure love of God, the goal of life. And that's what needed. When that pure love of a Godhead is there in your heart, awakens in your heart, then what happens? Then all these symptoms, what Maharaj Kulashekhar has explaining here, that after hearing about the Lord, immediately the incessant flow of tears will start. Your bodily hairs, they will stand on. But it's not happening right now. Why it's not happening? Shukdev Goswami has wonderfully explained the same thing in Srimad Bhagavatam. In the second canto, third chapter, and text number 24. He says, Tad ashmasaram hridayam batedam yad gruyamaner harinamadheye navikriye tatha yada vikaro netre jalam gatra raheshwa harshaha tad ashmasaram hridayam batedam. He says, certainly that heart is a steel framed, which, in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration, does not change and feel ecstasy, at which time tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. Because our heart is steel framed. Because sometimes reading too much or gathering so much of a knowledge, that makes your heart steel framed, and it's very difficult. You can't bow anything, you can't do seedling in the steel. That happens only in the fertile land. So same way, devotion means love, that only generates in the heart, which is soft like a cultivated land. And that's why, to have all these symptoms, we have to become very humble, because that humility makes our heart soft. And as my spiritual master used to say, only a grateful heart can attract the mercy of the Lord. So this heart should be full of a gratitude. And when that gratitude will be developed in the heart, when you think someone is superior to you, when you accept someone superior to you and your dependence on that particular person. So when you have grateful heart, then Lord mercy comes to you. But there are some people, they are called as a prakrita sahajiyas. Sahajiyas means who are natural. By nature, living entity is pure. So the person who is pure, then what happens to him? All his activities, they attain the perfection. As explained in the Ramayana Mahatmya, there is one nice verse where it is said that Manashuddha Vihinanam Nishkritischa Katam Bhavet Yatha Tushyati Devesho Devadeva Jagat Guru. If your mind is pure, then Tushyati, Yatha Tushyati. Because of that, the Devadevesha, the God of gods, Tushyati, he becomes satisfied with you. And who is he? Devadeva Jagat Guru. He is the supreme spiritual master. And if spiritual master is pleased with you, if he blesses, then automatically you will get all the knowledge. So sahaja means if you are natural. Then what happens? All these symptoms, whatever the Maharaj Kulashekhar has explained, or Maharaj Shukdev is expecting from us, they will be manifested. But there are some pretenders who are called as the Prakrit Sahajiyas, imitators. They imitate all these symptoms. And that's why the Acharyas warn us that pretenders imitate these symptoms, complete with the tears and bristling hair. Therefore, the most reliable symptoms of advancements are detachment from material pleasures and steady, sincere service to the Lord under the guidance of spiritual master. As the second verse of second verse of Guru Ashtakam, this qualities of spiritual master has explained. Mahaprabhor Kirtanayadita Vaditra Madhyan Manaso Rasena Romanchakam Shrutarunga Bhaja Vande Guru Sri Charanarvind. Spiritual master, when he sings about the Supreme Personality of a Godhead and his glories, then what happened? Romanja Kampa Ashru Taranga Bhaja. Then in his mind, it gets romanchit, he gets tremendous of ecstasy, and his body starts vibrate, and then tears start flowing continuously from his eyes. So the person, when this particular thing happens with him, and if you associate with such a person who is a sahaja, who has all these symptoms, naturally, then only it is possible for you to develop the same symptoms. Like now, the whole world is terrified because of this pandemic of corona. If someone comes in contact with the person who is having this corona, then he also gets infected and he becomes diseased. So same way, the person who is having this same symptoms, who is having this sahaja pravritti with him, and if you associate and serve that person, then you're going to get the same experience as he's experienced. It's normal. The person who has, only he can give it. So the person who is having this wonderful ecstasy of a Krishna consciousness, only he can give you that same Krishna consciousness. And that's why, if you want to really make progress toward the love of Godhead, we must study and carefully avoid the 10 offenses to chant the holy name and associate with such a wonderful personalities who are having the same, who had developed the same symptoms. As Lord says, only his devotees, they can tell you about his love about the Lord. And that's why he himself takes the form of Lord Gauranga and comes here and becomes the devotee to enjoy, to relish, and to distribute the love of Godhead. That's the sole purpose of Lord Gauranga's coming to this material world, to inundate this world and our hearts with the love of Godhead. Because he has, so he can give. That's the simple rule. And if you really want, then we should associate with such a wonderful devotees, then that happens. So why it is not happening right now? That reason has explained in the next verse, text number 36. As previously in last few verses, Maharaj Kulashekhar has explained that how that one should engage his different senses in the service of the Lord. In the text number 20, 26, 31, 34. There he has wonderfully explained that one should engage his senses in the service of the Lord. Why? Because if senses means they are active, they are not dull. Unless and until the body is dead, senses will not remain quiet, They will be engaged in some activities. If they are not engaged in the Lord's services, they will drag you somewhere else then, because they need their object where they can get concentrated, where they can get applied, from where they can try to get their satisfaction. So if senses are not engaged in the Lord's service, then definitely they will be engaged in the service of Maya. And in the service of Maya, what happens? They become totally blind and blunt, And because of this blunt and blind things, you can't get the proper knowledge. As if you have a blunt knife and you want to cut something, do you think it will be very easy or comfortable for you to cut something? No. You need to have that thing sharp. So our senses should be sharp, not in sense gratification. but in the service of the Lord. But if they are sharp in the service of their own gratification, then what happens? That has he explained by Maharaj Kulashekhar in the next verse. Actually, this is the same verse, same wording you can find in the prayers of Lakshmi Narsimha Karavalambam Stotra. There also, Sripad Shankaracharya, he has expressed the same way in same verse. There are maybe 2 or 3 words are different. Otherwise, whole verse is same like that. And he says, Andasya merita viveka mahadhanasya shorer prabho balibhirindriyanamadeyi mohandakupa kuhare vinipatitasya devesha dehi kripanasya karavalambam. So this is the verse where he's explaining about the nature of our senses. Ours means a conditioned living entity's senses. How they are behaving with us? He says, O Lord, the powerful thieves of my senses. So he's calling senses here as a thieves. So what they are stealing it from me? He says, the powerful thieves of my senses have blinded me by stealing my most precious possession. And what is that possession? Rita Viveka Mahadhanasya. Viveka, my discrimination. Viveka means Sad, Asad, Viveka Buddhi, where you can discriminate what is good, what is bad. If you don't have this discrimination, which is Sat, means which is eternal and which is temporary, then what happens? You will be thrown into the pitch dark well of a delusion. And that's why he says, please, O Lord of the Lords, extend your hand and save this wretched soul. Now I'm going to recite the same verse from Lakshmi Narsimha Karavalamba Stotra. There Shankaracharya also says, Andasya merita viveka mahadhanasya shorer balibhirindriyanamadeyi mohandakara kuhare vinipatitasya Lakshmi Narsimha Karavalambam. There he is praying to Lakshmi Narsimha directly. Please keep your hand on my head and bless me and take me out of this kupa, the well of a delusion. See, very wonderfully Maharaj Kulashekhar is explaining here. Apparently those same senses have dragged us down into the delusion. Definitely, it is not his condition. His senses have not put him into the delusion. It's ours. Because Maharaj Kulashekhar is a liberated person. He is not conditioned like us. He is a pure devotee of the Lord. But he is taking a role of a fallen soul like us, so that we can get some wonderful instructions which will help us to make progress in our spiritual life. And this is the realistic picture of all of us, you know. And once if you know the problem, then definitely you will work on solution. So here is our problem, that our senses are so strong and sharp for sense gratification that while engaging them in the gratification, we have really forgotten what is good and what is bad for us, what is eternal and what is a temporary, what thing that is going to give us eternal happiness and what is giving us a temporary happiness. So everything get delusioned, you know. It makes us totally blind. So our senses, when they are not engaged in the service of the Lord, definitely they are making you blind. And once, if someone becomes a blind, it's not possible for that person to really understand which way to go. And if you want to go somewhere, you need to know where is that path. And if you are blind in deep darkness, you don't know which direction to go. So in that case, to really get out of this precarious condition, we really need to pray their Lordship. Because as in the previous verse, he says, he is the only supreme. Param Daivatam Etat. He is the topmost personality of a Godhead who can save you, because he's the ultimate controller. The things which are controlled by him, which are under his control, so only he can release you from that. So one has to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. And that's why Maharaj Kulashekhar, he explains in this verse that we should pray. Give the shelter to this Vivekahina, the person who does not have a intelligence which can discriminate what is good and what is bad for me. So my Lord, please you give me that intelligence. As in the Ishopanishad, text number 11, it is explained, Vidyam cha avidyam cha yastad vedo upayam saha avidyam mrityum tirtva vidya amrutam ashnute. So if your senses are not controlled and they are going astray, then you are not going to get a vidya. Vidya means adhyatma vidya. As in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord says, Adhyatma vidya vidyanam. Amongst the all knowledge, the supreme knowledge is Atma Vidya, knowing about yourself. When you will get that? When you take shelter at the lotus feet of the person who has taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, because he can only impart that knowledge to you. And only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of the transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoys the full blessings of immortality. Because avidya, what happens? As Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jada Vidya Jata Mayara Vaibhava Jivera Banaya Gadha. Jada Vidya means the knowledge of this world, Jada, the material knowledge, that makes you ASS, who carries that load of a knowledge, just a burden, which is only meant to fill this belly. And that will take you towards the depth. But if someone gets the Vidya, Adhyatma Vidya, then Amrutatvam Ashnute, then that gives you the eternity. And that's why the right choice for a human being is Vidya, the transcendental knowledge, with restricted sense enjoyment. As we have a senses, so they need some enjoyment. But if they are engaged in the service of the Lord, you will get the real enjoyment. And unless and until we are purified totally, we are given some restrictions. Oh, okay. You want to eat? Really? Some people, they have habit, oh, I want pizza, Okay. Offer it, make it, offer it to the Lord and take it as a prasad. Not from KFC or not from, I don't know even, because from different places you go and get the pizzas. But if you want to have it, okay, make it yourself, offer it to the Lord and honor it. But when you go all this process of making things, then you said that, leave it, no need to. Then you will go for the simple thing, which can save your time also and which can engage you more into the service of the Lord. So there is a restricted sense enjoyment. But we are taught about the avidya so that we will be fully aware of its dear consequences. And then no need to tell you that reject the things. Automatically you yourself will reject. And then our mind and senses wholeheartedly will be engaged in the service of Krishna. As Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, where the Dhyan Yoga has explained. There he says, Uddaret Atmanam Atmanaha Natmanam Avasadayet Atmaiva Yatmano Bandhur Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. See, it's me only who is my greatest friend and who is a deadly enemy of mine. No one else. It's my mind only, which elevates you and which degrades you. So don't blame others. It's we. We have to take care of our life because we are the architect of our future life. If we engage our senses in the service of the Lord, then we see the miracles. And we have a great example of Maharaj Ambarish, how wonderfully he engaged his mind in meditating of Lord's lotus feet. His words in glorifying the Lord's transcendental qualities. His hands, Karor Mandira Marjanadisho, it's cleaning the Lord's temples. Shrutim Chakarat Achyuta Satakathodayat. His ears in hearing the Lord's pastimes. Mukundalingalaya Darshanam Darshav. His eyes to see the beautiful form of their Lordship, which is really transcendental. Anga Gatra Sparshaman. His body to touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. You want to touch and have some satisfaction? Touch the body of devotees, because sparsha, if you touch the devotees of the Lord, then your existence get purified. See, it said that if someone get the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu Bhajananukul, that gives a favorable condition in your life to do the bhajan, then what to speak of getting sparsha, touch by such a pure devotee. Granam chatatpada saroja savrave. Use your smelling capacity to smell the flowers that has been offered at the lotus feet of the Lord. And that's what Maharaj Kulashekhar has done, Maharaj Ambarish has done. So if we engage our senses in such a way, then what happens? Definitely we get purified. And in spite of these warnings, if we follow the wanton dictates of our senses, then those senses will lead us into the ditch of deep, dark illusion. Just as an unreined horse might drag a chariot into a ditch. And if this happens, if we fall deep into the sinful life, then our only resource is to call sincerely upon the Supreme Lord to extricate us. See, whatever metaphor that Maharaj Kulashekhar has given here, it's not imaginary. For a person like us who are from India, we have seen this, Because at our place still we have this kupa wells in our villages. Like in my own farm, in my childhood when we went to see our farm, so they were warning us, don't go to the that particular side because there we have a very deep dark well. And we were wondering, what is that? As a notorious guy, I went and I saw that. It was like a fully covered well near about 40 feet dia. Nothing was seen. It seems to be like a small ditch, but it was a deep, dark well, unused. And if someone accidentally falls into that dry, overgrown well, which is known as Andakupa or blind well, it's not possible that someone can survive. And that's what's happening with us. We are in this material world. Without the service of Lord, it is just like a blind well, deep, dark well. Once you fall into it, that, and if you don't pray for your rescue, nobody is going to hear because nobody can see in the deep, dark well. Only a sound. If you pray, if you really call upon someone to save you, then it's possible. And that calling upon from this blind well of material existence is nothing than the prayers which has wonderfully offered by all these great devotees like Maharaj Kulashekhar. If you remember these prayers and if you call upon them, then Lord, He extends His hand and He pulls you up. Because we cannot extricate ourselves from the deep well of material life unless we grab the rope of mercy lowered by Krishna or his representative. In Padyavali, where Srila Rupa Goswami, he prays, not in Padyavali actually, it's in Stavamala. He says, Manasi jafani jushte labda patosmi dushte Timira ghana rupe hanta samsara kupe Ajita nikhila raksha hetun uddhara daksham Upanayama haste bhakti rajjum namaste Manasija fani jushte labda pato asmi dushte Timira gahan rupe hanta samsara kupe Ajita nikhila raksha hetum uddhara daksham Upanaya mama haste bhakti rachum namaste. He says, alas, I have fallen into the deep, dark, filthy well of samsara, in which the viper of sex desire dwells. O invincible Lord, the rope of devotional service is the cause of universal protection and is expert at delivering the fallen souls like me. Please place that rope in my hand. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. See, you can see all these great devotees. Maybe they may be separated by the time span, like Maharaj Kulashekhar, some 1,000 years back. Then 1,000 years or 12, 13, 1400 years back, Sripad Shankaracharya. Then 500 years back, Srila Rupa Goswami. Again, one of his disciples, Raghunath Goswami. All are having the same prayers. Same theme they are continuing with. So that shows the authorized way. That shows the proper system through which the knowledge is delivered in the same way, with the same essence that has been delivered. Even their time span is different, but essence is delivered properly. As Shripad Rupa Goswami, all we are considered as a Rupanugas, the follower of him. So he is expressing, oh my Lord, what can save me from this Andakopa, the blind, dark, delusion well, is your devotion, nothing else. That only is the expert thing which can deliver person like us from this material existence. And similar mood, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami has explained in his Manah Shiksha, his book, where he has given instruction to the mind. He says, Asascheshta kashta pradavikta pashalibhiryaha prakamam kamadi prakata pathapati vyatikarehi gale badhvahanne ahamiti bhaka bhidavartam begane Kuriyutvam phutakaram avati sayathatvam manayitaha. He says, the highwayman of a lust and his accomplices, like a greed, all this shadripus, kama, krodha, lobha, mad, moha, matsara, have waylaid me and bound my neck with the horrible ropes of a sinful activities. O mind, please scream out for a help, crying, O Krishna, O killer of Baka, I am on the verge of death. If you do this, then Krishna will certainly save me. So we have to call upon the Lord from our mind. Sometimes we pray to the Lord, but our mind is somewhere else. So we have to call upon from our mind. Because Uddharet Atmanam, it is you, it's your mind who is going to deliver you. And it's said that to be aware of a danger itself is a blessing. If we see the disaster of death and rebirth approaching, we will naturally call out to Krishna for help. If you really know the danger of birth and death, some people they don't know because we celebrate birth, you know. Every year we say happy birthday, happy birthday. Do you know this? Really taking birth is really happy thing. All you mothers, you must be knowing. One of the most painful incident in your life is giving birth to the child. So it is painful for mother also, and it is painful for the child also. When he comes out of that 6 inches opening where he has to squeeze out himself and come out, which is forced by the air in the mother's womb. So once he comes out, then what happens? It's a happy thing for him. How all we are got welcomed in this world. You remember that? Nobody remembers actually. If we really remember that thing, then we will not say that happy birthday, because when the child comes out of the womb, he's not able to breathe because his mouth, his nose, everything is filled up with the liquid from that embryo, from that what they call uterus. To clean out that and to keep his lungs operated, a nurse or doctor who is there, what they do, they give a big slap. So as soon as they give slap, the first thing that child does, he cries. He opens up his mouth, and then his ventilation of air starts from his that ventilator tube. So our first welcome in this world with a slap. What do you think? The whole life, what we are going to do? We are getting different slaps from different personalities throughout the life. In childhood from our parents, boyhood from teachers. I don't know in America, but they don't touch you. But in India, we get really a good slap if we become so notorious. After that, then there are different kinds of slaps from different personalities. And that makes us cry in this material world. And still we say happy birthday. And death, everyone is having a fear of that. Nobody wants to die. That's why these pharmaceutical companies, they're making billions of dollars out of your fear of a death. A very intelligent person can understand that I don't want to come back to this circle of birth and death. As Sripad Shankaracharya, in his final instruction to his student, he says that Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jatare shayanam, ye samsare khaludustare, kripaya pare pahi murare. He prays to Lord Govinda. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Because of that activities which are performed for the sense gratification in this world, we have to take birth again and again. If you have taken a birth, then whoever has taken birth, he has to die. So we have to die again. Punarapi janani jadhare shayanam. And to either enjoy or suffer for the activities that I have performed in my previous life, I have to take shelter of some mother's womb. And I don't know exactly which womb is allocated for me for the next life. It may be the women, it may be some female in any other species of life amongst the 8.4 millions. I don't know. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jadhare shayanam. Ye samsare khalu dustare. Khalu means really, in fact, this material world is a actual, factual place where people suffers. And to cross it, it's very difficult. Ye sansare khalu dustare. Dustare means to deliver, to cross upon is very difficult. And then he prays, Krupaya pahre pahi murari. Only, O Murari. Why this word Mura has used here? Murari. Lord is called upon Murari, means enemy of a Mura. Because Mura was the demon who took out the knowledge from Brahma. And Lord brought that knowledge back by killing that Mura. So if you have a knowledge about the ghastly effects of taking birth and death, you will not pray for getting rid of that. And that's why knowing the problem itself is the part of solution. So if you know this is the problem, then you will work on the solution. And that's why here this particular prayer has offered by Maharaj Kulashekhar. And after knowing this also, if we remain in ignorance, we will foolishly continue trying to enjoy sense pleasure, not recognizing that sense gratification implicates us in a repeated birth and death. However, once we begin sincerely calling on Krishna in full awareness that we are in mortal danger and that He is our only protector, we are already saved. Hope that you have understood what a great problem we are in, and there is only one solution, that is Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We chant this name of the Supreme Personality of a Godhead. If we take shelter at His lotus feet, then it's possible to get rid of this cycle of birth and death. Otherwise, punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayana. So, what is that factually can take us out from this? That has explained in the next verse, and that we'll discuss on next Saturday. Thank you very much for your kind attendance. If you have any question, you can ask, or you can type it down. We will answer that question on next Saturday. Hare Krishna. Maharaj Kulashekhar ki जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, श्री कृष्ण चंद्र भगवान की जय. Thank you very much.